Hi, this is Seema Raghunath from the Working Women's Fraternity, India. The subject I'm going to talk about today is ethics and governance in the period of the pandemic and post pandemic changes to come. We're going to do a little interesting bit on forecasting, basis things that we've seen and observed in the past few months. The subject of ethics and governance is very close to every organization that claims that it is a serious business house and it follows world class standards, or at least attempts to. Rubber hits the road and the writing is on the wall on who really is an ethical organization and the type of governance standards they hold, because we see people behave in a certain way when the weather is good. And good weather behavior is not an indication of sustained good conduct. The choices we make in difficult hours, during crisis, when there is a challenge, is the true test of not just a person, but also the organization. The organization is the amalgamation of many people and their shared ethics. An organization is led by management, and very often management decisions are not necessarily the decisions, the choices, or the preferences of the people, just the way governments operate. And we see that citizens need not agree with the choices a government makes. The vulnerability of the citizen and the vulnerability of people within organizations basically is the same. The difference being management is not even elected by the employees within the organization. They are elected by a certain few who are in leadership roles. So, by virtue of which a democracy within a country operates slightly better than we see how it manages itself within an organization. Within organizations, therefore, we have a greater dependency on the character of individual beings and the cumulative character of those individuals who become part of a management. Decisions that have come through from a organization during this pandemic is a reflection of what they are choosing to live with and what they choose to deal with. Let me give you examples. There are organizations who decided at a time like this, we would not want to somewhere, even by mistake, communicate that people are unimportant. Business exists because of two standing pillars, mainly business and people. There is a third one, which is technology, and there is a fourth one, which is strategy and visioning and purpose. But we won't get into that one because the first two pillars of most consequence is business and people. When difficulties arrive, and we know that the pandemic has been an act of God, it was not really within the control of any human being. Any country could brag of the best army, navy, weaponry, but we were all equally vulnerable to the virus. In the situation where it's an act of God, employees who are working within an organization really have nothing to do with it. They have zero control on what's happening outside and far less control on what's going to happen with them. This is the period in time when organizations and management have to actually lift themselves and become the best version of themselves to demonstrate that they do have the right values, to apply the right values to the component of people. Business is important, money is important, outcomes are important, performance is important, profitability is important, and it has always been important. The reason why businesses exist is because of profitability. It is when you are profitable that you can hire people. But we are also cognizant that there is no business without people. It is people that make a business happen. It is people that reshape a business. It is people that bring the business, keep the business, and grow the business, which is why in sensitive, mature organizations, the people component is always placed above the business component. Unfortunately, it is in this period of the pandemic that it has been observed there were many organizations that chose to put people below the piece of business. These are organizations that have been callous, inhuman, absolutely downright third rated in how they treated their employees, some even sacking people using WhatsApp. They have not given employees even the dignity of a conversation. Many people have been left in the lurch. There are organizations that did not even pay their 3-month notice. There are organizations that just announced these redundancies with no clarification or classification of truly strong talent versus those that may not have been good on their jobs. We all know that when organizations don't do well, there are small organizations that cannot stay afloat. There are those who have been not profitable for a very long time, deep in debts. We know there are organizations that are startups and are extremely shoestring budget operators. And of course, there may be those that were at the brink of closures any which way, and the pandemic just made it sooner, happened sooner to them. Under such circumstances, when they manage retrenchment and redundancies, it's absolutely justified, and no employee would have any right to question or deflect a choice like that. However, our problem and contention mainly is with very comfortable organizations, companies that have bragged of success, that have been in the industry for several decades. They have raked in their monies, they have stocked up their monies, they have talked about their rich assets and their backups. Yet, at a time like this, they have shown a indiscipline and an inability to dip into their coffers to save the lives of those employees who are anyway not really high value from a CTC, which is cost to company angle. The choice that this type of an organization would have made at a time like this is indicative of poor ethics and absolutely no governance. In the times to come, organizations will be judged on parameters of ethics and governance more than anything else. What organizations have not realized, perhaps, is that this is the period of putting up your character on that canvas between competitors and leaving an etched mark of who you really are for posterity. And it's going to be virtually impossible for companies to come out and erase the reputation they created for themselves during this pandemic and maybe even after. Employees have watched, the HR community has watched, other business leaders have watched the choices made by HR leaders and business leaders at a time like this. You also have to be cognizant of one thing. There is a concept of individual organization disasters. This means the individual organization has gone through a bad moment in time, maybe by bad investments or not having the right kind of financial backing coming at the right time, or maybe these are let's say some bad projects gone awry, or the inability to find sustainability because of poor leadership decisions. Whichever this may be, it is an individual organization that is going through a moment of disaster. It is also indicative that the market is healthy, the competition is going great, the opportunities in the industry or in a given sector is unaffected. The only affected party, therefore, is the individual organization that is experiencing a disaster. When such an organization then decides to take a look at deadwood, which is talent who never really shaped up to their jobs that they were hired for, to redundant folks whose jobs are not in any way contributing to the organization. They are possibly just seat warmers with no real activity going on there, perhaps now performing 10% or 20% of some other department's activities, but really not justifying the KRAs that they have, which were defined for them, and therefore a true burden to the system, because good talent will not be in a position to earn their salaries since it's being spread across in trying to maintain people who are not really fit for the organization's current stage structure or be useful anytime in the near future. When organizations who are going through this individual disaster decide to retrench people, you're actually asking them to move out of a system for other people's sustainability and the revival of an organization. But by putting them back in the market with a 3-month notice, basically what you're doing is allowing them to find their own breathers in a very, very healthy national condition. It would be absolutely easy for organizations who are competitors to lap up this kind of talent in good weather, in good market. However, when there is a national calamity and there is cumulative damage, it just means that the whole industry is affected, an entire sector is down. Maybe your competition is not doing any better than you are. That is what a pandemic does. It is cumulative damage. In a period of cumulative damage, to be retrenching large number of people left, right, center with no real design or comprehension of consequences means that you're actually contributing to national burden. You are contributing to national unemployment. You are contributing to national irresponsibility as well towards the citizens. What is ethics and governance means that you have a larger perspective. You have strategic abilities and the foresight to see what the choice of your decisions will do, not just to your employee and their immediate families, but to your state, to your community, and to your country. The world is watching. Corporate governance and ethics will never find the stage it has found during this period of pandemic. The Working Women's Fraternity India is keen to create awareness, and we are requesting organizations in HR to pause before you act, look inward before you choose, and to think before you do. Thank you.